everybody. It is May the 2nd, 2025. It's 7 o'clock Central Time. Well, 7:04. I am running just a few minutes late. I apologize for that. We've got Bill Hanson coming on tonight. This is going to be, man, you have no idea. It looks like I have nerves of steel, I can assure you, but you have no idea the rushing around that I have been doing to get this thing going. And I've hit every light, every slow car, etc., to be here, to try to get here as quick as I could. I forgot my stuff at work, and my week has been just insane. I've spoke at 3 different events this week, all of them local, but man, unbelievable. I want to give a shout out to Dreama from New Mexico, who lives on the Navajo reservation. She stopped by yesterday, and actually she gave me this bracelet that she's like, here, you have to take this. And I was like, I can't take that. And she's like, I insist, you're going to take it. And she gave it to me. I told her I would mention her on the show, and she stopped by to say hello to us. And she's just really a super fan of the show. And basically she wanted to just talk to me, and her son had tragically been murdered a few years ago in Albuquerque. And just a horrible, I know, take a breath, Sal. I know. Am I coming across that I'm a little bit high strung? Okay, I'm going to take a breath. There we go. I'm good. I hate running late, and I literally was rushing around all over the place. It's crazy. But Dreama, I'm giving you that shout out that I told you that I would do. I want to welcome all of the new followers and subscribers. If you're just joining us for the first time, make sure you hit subscribe and leave us a like and leave us a comment. I do appreciate it. I don't make anything to do this. Bill isn't making anything to do this, but Bill wants this thing to rock the house. I mean, he really wants a lot of people to be here and so forth. So I think we're going to have a fun time. This is kind of like one of those installments of where are they now, kind of. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about Bill. Detective William Bill Hanson retired from his law enforcement career in November 2016. He left with over 26 years of experience in law enforcement and worked thousands of death investigations in the capacity of patrol deputy, patrol officer, scene detective, and lead investigator. Bill started his career as a patrol deputy in Mojave County, Arizona, the Bullhead sector. While with the sheriff's office, Bill was an FTO, SWAT operator, and SWAT team leader. Bill transferred to Tucson Police Department in 1993, and in 1998, Bill received a promotion to detective in 1998, and he worked in the burglary and aggravated assault units. While in the aggravated assault unit, Bill carried his own homicide cases and assisted the homicide unit beginning in 2000. He was a member of the homicide unit from 2005 to 2015 and continued to work on his cold case homicide cases until his retirement in 2016. So Detective Hanson was a general instructor and taught basic recruits various job courses, ethics in law enforcement, courtroom demeanor, crime scene, and death investigation at the Southern Arizona Law Enforcement Training Academy. Bill also assisted in teaching the homicide block for years to students at Arizona University of Arizona, and during his career, and trained hundreds of professionals. Detective Hanson is currently a technical advisor to the University of Arizona's course, The Nature of Murder. And then we'll get into the rest of this stuff. Let's welcome Bill Hanson. Bill.
How are you?
An OG, also known as an old guy.
Right.
In the world of homicide, and I hear a lot of similarities between the both of us. We both teach. You teach. I think you teach. Are you still with the organization, the Arizona Association?
Arizona Homicide Investigators Association. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I'm a past president for them. And besides that, I also teach for NCJTC and advanced police concepts. So that's only part time though.
when I read your bio, I can't help but think of that movie that Clint Eastwood was in, where he was a Phoenix cop getting sent off, and I think of those areas where I think you know the movie that I'm talking about, where what was that? It was The Gauntlet, where he's out in the absolute middle of nowhere, and was that kind of the area that you were kind of working in when you started?
Yeah, we had some of those. Oh, in Bullhead, yeah, up in the thing about Mojave County, it's up in the corner of the state, but it's the 12th largest county in the nation. I mean, it's huge, Mojave County. And I was up around the area around Bullhead, and that's between like Havasu and Kingman. And also it goes right in the corner of Needles and Laughlin, Nevada. So, yeah, I was up there for a little over 3 years, and we used to call it hell because it was so damn hot.
Yeah, I think I heard you on another deal where you said you'd look up at the temperature, I guess on the top of a casino or something, and it said what would it say, and what was the real temperature?
Well, Don Laughlin's casino was there, yeah, the Edgewater, and I'd see 132 up on that board, and he'd always reported at like 122 because he didn't want to lose all the retirees coming out there to gamble away their money.
Yeah,
but,
and your boots are melting to the pavement.
Oh yeah,
you stand there.
Oh yeah, it was real great being a SWAT operator with all that stuff on and having to go into a trailer and blow it up and things. But
I cannot imagine. I can't imagine. So then you left from that area. You go to another mid-sized apartment, and then you ultimately end up going to Tucson. And
right.
that's a long process. And back then, everybody wanted to be a cop, I'm sure, or there was a lot of competition. So when you got to Tucson, tell us a little bit about Tucson as far as the demographics, size-wise, et cetera.
I'll tell you first about Casa Grande. That's where I went to from Mojave County, waiting to get hired on by Tucson, but I was still in the process the whole time. It was strange. Year and a half to get through the process. So I went to Casa Grande, got through my FTO, had some great folks there, and then left. But get down to Tucson. Tucson's about a 500 square mile area. City and county wide, it's got 1 million people. And the crazy part about it is it's like the old West down here. I mean, you've got border problems and gang activity and everything else. But for our unit, our homicide unit, we had 6 detectives, and we averaged between 50 to 70 homicides a year. I think the year that first 48 was there, we had 74, I think it was. And that's just homicides. It wasn't suspicious death. It wasn't in custody death. It wasn't officer involved. It wasn't ODs, things like that. We had plenty of work to keep us busy. That's for sure.
So you get there at the department, and what's the size of that department, or at least what was it at the time? Because I know that you guys don't have the manning levels that you used to have, probably.
Right. Back when I came in, it was like a 1,200 man department, so it was pretty good size.
Yeah, that's huge.
Not as big as Phoenix, but
I had no idea that department was that big. That's really big. And so from there, you get on the department. It's a huge department. The population of Tucson is roughly what? I mean, it's the second largest city in Arizona. And
yeah, it's like just like 600,000, but with the county included, it's over 1 million. It's huge.
Okay.
Pima County is a pretty good size county itself.
Yeah. See, I've been to Tucson one time before. I've been to the Saguaro National Park and different areas around Tucson, and it's a pretty city. I just had no idea it was that big. It's crazy that it's that big. How far away from Mexico are you?
About 40 minutes as a crow flies. It's not too far at all.
Super close. All right. So you get there on the department, and tell me about, number one, what's your journey from patrol? Because everybody starts out in patrol. What your journey was from there up until homicide, and what was it that made you really want to go to homicide?
I knew at 5 years old I wanted to be a cop. My dad was a fireman in Chicago, and he gave me a Dick Tracy snub-nosed revolver toy gun when I was about 5, and I told him I'm going to be a cop, and he was like, "No, you won't. You'll be a fireman." And I always kept that mindset where I wanted to be a cop. When I was in the military, I enlisted in the Air Force in 1980. We had lumber companies folding up, and I knew I had to do something to support a brand new wife. So I went ahead and I went ahead and enlisted in the Air Force. And while I was in the Air Force in basic training, I got a call from my commander, report to the office. And back then, that's like an oh shit moment. You don't go see the commander, when you're in basic training. But I went in there, my first sergeant sitting there in a chapel, and I went out. What the hell did I do? And they said, your brother's been killed and you have to go home. And I went, wait a minute. That didn't make any sense. My brother's been killed. Well, he was shot. And I won't tell you the town it happened in or the city, but they said he's been murdered and you need to go home for his funeral and then come back. And hopefully you're going to be able to come back and get back into basic training. You're going to be knocked down a couple of squads probably by the time you get back here. But luckily as it was, I went in there, I did the funeral. I came back. The group I had was an outstanding group. And I was a squad leader when I left. When I came back, I was just a squad person. But I made it through with their help and graduated on time. But at that point, when that happened, I thought, I want to be a detective. I knew that with the Dick Tracy thing.
Man.
But I want to go into homicide. I don't want people to have to deal with this shit that I did.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that about you, Bill. I don't remember hearing that. So
yeah,
that's a lot of empathy that you bring to the table that just the rest of us don't have. That's horrible. And then not only that, but to go backwards a little bit in your history, you because I've got a lot of firefighting background in my family as well, and that was kind of I was looking at I'm either going to be a cop or I'm going to be firefighter. And also, I wanted to be a cop since I was 6. I actually wanted to be a homicide guy since I was 6.
Well,
but so your dad's history with the fire department, and unfortunately he died in a fire as well. Am I right?
Well, he died as a result of a fire. Yeah, he had a heart attack back when I was like 12, and he had multiple heart attacks. Went in for a heart transplant, didn't make it, and died when I was just a kid. But I told my mom, I'm going to do this. Might take me a little while, but I finally got a chance to get into it. Now, my first wife, God love her, she was a great lady, but didn't support me in a police career. And when we got divorced, I went, I'm leaving active duty Air Force. I'm going to go Guard Reserve. And they call it a Palace Chase assignment. So you don't leave any time behind. You take it all with you. And when I went into that was up in Phoenix at the 161st Air Refueling Squadron. And I knew at that point, I've just got to get in here and test. And I tested with Phoenix and Mesa and Chandler, you name it. And Tucson was one of those I tested with. And there was a couple of places I was on the list, but Tucson gave me the best benefit of it. And I went to Mojave County and tested there, and they picked me right up. And I thought, well, you know what? Let me start this. Because when I tested with Tempe, I talked to an old-time lieutenant who gave me some great advice. He said, go someplace, get some experience, come back, because I want to hire you. But go get your feet wet someplace. And I did. And that's what I did at Mojave County and did that for a number of years. I mean, I had a Meritorious Service Award my first year there. And I thought, well, you know what? I could do this. And, I'm just going to press on.
One of the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, why I brought Bill on here, and those of you who are joining us, this is episode. Yeah, good for you. Good for you. You know what? If I I need a drink right now after that little last hour I've had. I'll tell you what. I brought him. Thank you. I brought him on here because I grew up watching the first 48. I mean, it came on TV in 2004, and Bill was one of those when Tucson hit the television screen. You were the one on the debut episode, and and I was the one on the debut episode for Tulsa as well. And
very good.
And when you hit the television, you were just one of those that every time Tucson would come on, you were that guy that I would be looking for, and there you are there. And so I remembered you all these years later, and I enjoyed watching. I really wish that they would get back to Arizona, to tell you the truth. And I know that the first 48 has tried, because they've been in talks with Phoenix and and some other cities within the Phoenix area. I think Mesa or Chandler or one of the two that they were trying to. But let's talk. You get into homicide, and when you get into homicide there, first of all, I can't believe that you had 6 people working all those homicides. That's insanity. Yeah, we had 9 when I first got into the unit. You had 6. We have about the same types of numbers, and that's working all the time. What was your experience like when you got into homicide? Did they really take you along and train you, or did they just kind of throw you to the wolves?
No, well, and I got to say, when I started in ag assault, like I said, I carried my homicide starting in 2000. So if you were beaten, shot, stabbed, didn't die right away, that was our case. It wouldn't go to homicide; it would go to ag assault. So I started carrying homicide cases in 2000. The nice thing about that, our supervisor was Mark Fuller, great guy, and he started going, you know what? Come on the homicide calls with us because I want to get you in here as soon as we can. So I go out and work crime scenes with those guys. And besides the ag assault crime scenes, I also worked the homicide crime scenes. So, I mean, I was, kind of training by fire. But it was great because they were able to get me in there. I started with AHIA, the Arizona Homicide Investigators Association. I started that back when I first started ag assault. So I was able to go through a lot of trainings with them. Went through medical legal death and things like that, interview and interrogation. I met Henry Lee. I met Geberth back in the day, Michael Bodden. I mean, we had all those people at these AHIA trainings, and I was a sponge. And I go in there and learn about crime scene and blood spatter and all those things, and just, got as much training as I could because it was available to us, and was like, well, shit, if it's available, I'm going to do it because as a deputy sheriff, we never had any AOT ever. Yeah. Our sheriff was an old treasury guy who didn't believe in that stuff, didn't care for it. And if you rock the boat, you're out of here. And it was like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do everything right. But we didn't have anything like that. But when I got to Tucson, we had it. And it's like, if the availability is there, I'm going to take the training. And I did.
Right. And for those of you that don't know who some of those names are, Henry Lee, he's like the top of the mountain when it comes to forensic scientist. And yes. Vernon Geberth, I've had more than one drink with Vernon in the past.
Me too.
So yeah, Vernon, I hated to see him retire. So for those of you that don't know who he is, he wrote what I'm going to call the Bible of homicide investigation, which is the practical homicide investigation book. And It's a huge, huge book, and it's fantastic, actually. So anyway, and I've never met Michael Biden. I've always wanted to meet him, but I can remember watching him on HBO and Confessions of a Medical Examiner, et cetera. So definitely one of those heavy hitters. So you get in there, you're starting to get all this stuff, and then you finally make it into the homicide unit. The first time, or
time. No,
was it the first time that you applied, or?
Well, Mark was trying to get me in there. Like I said, Mark Fuller, he was trying to get me in. I was still in the military. And then 2001 happened. I was retiring September 9, 2001. 2 days later, planes in the buildings. I'm in stop loss, so I'm stuck. Mm-hmm. And I did that for another year in 2002 before I was able to retire. And by that point, we just put people in the homicide. It's like, darn it. I just missed that spot because Mark wanted to slot me in there, but I had to wait. The next opening we had, Jim Filippelli, one of my good buddies, he went ahead and came out of homicide. And back then, it's probably the same with you guys. If you didn't retire or didn't die out of homicide, you weren't getting in. Now it's a bit different. And I appreciate that because you have, a newer breed that goes in there, which is great. But with us, I mean, if you didn't have a slot, you weren't moving in. Yeah. So by 2005, what's that?
Well, what is different about it today? Do you think from then to now?
Well, I know that we got a great group of people in there in homicide. We've got newer people. We've got Spanish speakers. We've got people that are manual communicators, and a lot of guys that have a lot of the experience with the forensics and things like that, as far as the computers and phones and so forth. Yeah. So, I mean, back when you and I went in, back when I started, I had a Polaroid that I was waving around, trying to make sure it had a picture to it, back in the 90s. But then, as time went on, we had the digital cameras, things like that. And with the cell phones and things like that, you had to put it on your desk, let it sit there overnight and download because it wasn't, if it was a smartphone, you wouldn't get the thing until the next day. So, excuse me. I got a little bit of a congestion thing going on here.
I'll tell you what, Bill, you're still in the game a little bit with as far as instructing and so forth. So you know kind of the technology that's going on, but can you imagine working some of those cases back in the day with the technology that we have right now? It is absolutely incredible. I told, and I've said this several times, but I'll say it again because I just love saying it. I told Gil Carrillo, who was the lead detective of the Night Stalker. I said, Gil, we would have solved that case in 15 minutes today. And he just and he's looking at me and I say, all right, well, maybe I'm exaggerating, 30 minutes, but we would have solved it because that's the way it is now. We're solving cases that 2 years ago, there's just no way we would have had an option. We wouldn't have been able to solve it 2 years ago. And what I mean by that is flock cameras, game changer, biggest thing that's ever happened. And so you get in there, you're rocking and rolling, and you're probably learning a lot like I did. You're so busy that you're just kind of learning as you go and doing the best that you can. And
case to case.
Right. And so how many cases can you estimate that how many cases do you think you were the lead on over all those years?
Oh, good Lord. Hundreds. Because you're talking about just homicides? You're talking about just death cases?
No, just homicides.
Oh, just homicides. By the time I retired, I was in the hundreds. Because I mean, I had a lot of cases. Again, when you have 6 people, it's kind of tough when somebody's on vacation, somebody's on leave, somebody's sick, maternity leave, something like that, because you get you're right back in the saddle. Yeah, right. I had officer murders that I was responsible for too, and my boss Kevin Hall, who now is up in Spokane, great supervisor, but he told me, he says, hey, you know what, Bill, since you got Eric Height's case, let's go ahead and bypass you, and we'll go to somebody else. And I said, I appreciate that because there's going to be a huge capital murder case that we're working. Before I know it, I was back on a case again. It's like, gosh, damn. I thought we were going to be able to bypass this, but we just didn't have the manpower. Right. You come out there at 2:00 in the morning and he's like, can you take it? And it's like, yeah. And, a lot of those, I'd love to say, I'm like San Diego or some of those departments were like, we have a 99% clearance rate. Shoot, back in the day, if we're in the 70s, we were lucky because we've got people coming from across the border. They get shot in the head. They get dumped outside the car. They've got a round in their head, and that's your crime scene. And that's it. Yeah. And it's because they lost a couple 500-pound loads down in Mexico, and you're never going to solve it, unfortunately. But that's your case. And it's like, well, this is going to go in the cold case room pretty quick. And I've got probably 30-plus cases in the cold case room. A couple of those have warrants for them, but they're down in Mexico, so I have to wait for them to pop back up. And then when we get them again, we could go ahead and, close the case out. But, it's never easy. It's never easy. We've got, we've got cases that I just testified on last year from 2012, and I've been retired since 2016. So that tells you the type of cases we have to pop up.
Yeah, and that's really tough too, because going back there, first of all, I don't know what you were like, but for me, I have a better memory about the older cases. The ones right now, it's like we get one 3 months ago, and you'll have to explain it to me because I just won't remember it like I do the old cases. But those are tough, especially with witness difficulties as they are, and all this, that, and the other. So so ultimately, you guys were solving. You said probably. At least I think 70% is pretty remarkable considering the area of the country that is, because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of those type of cases that I'm sure you had people, they just go back right over the border and you have no clue as to who they were to begin with. Right.
That's right. And we have many of those.
And I just had a guy captured. Well, I just had one captured in Mexico within about a month. I couldn't believe it. I thought, man, this guy, I'm going to get wind that this guy got killed by some cartel and we'll never know if this guy was even killed, really. So, Yeah, that would have been a huge challenge. Not to mention the fact I bet you now you have some rural areas within Tucson as well, right? Would you have some
sure.
rural areas? Yeah, you'd have body dumps out there in the middle of freaking the desert, where
that's why we extended into Pima County, because we had so many things like that. That's why, some of the things you look at today, as far as some of the search warrants and some of the things you can get, help out a lot, as far as some of the areas you go to where you're looking at tower hits and things like that.
Yeah, right.
And you're looking at some of the phones that are pinging out there, and you're like, okay, this is my bad guy, and this is where they dumped him at. This makes sense. Where if you live in Chicago, where I came from, trying to get a dump in the area, it's like, oh, we've got 7 jillion people here. We're not going to get a hit, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's great. So the first 48, they actually start there. How did that go about, where they actually got introduced to your city and your city was welcoming that? Because that's kind of like, I always kind of laugh about this. People are like, why in the world would a city want a show about murder as part of their travel brochure?
Yeah, I agree. Well, they came down from Phoenix. I mean, they left right out of Phoenix and came down here. And we met with them, Ryan Robbins and some of the other folks that were in there. Great group of people. I loved them all. They're really, really good people. And they came in, they talked with us, said what they'd like to try to do. We sat down with them, told them what our expectations were. And, we kind of went back and forth, but, they said, this is what we'd like to do. We do the field producing, real time. We try to get this stuff done. We send the information back to New York. We get back that DVD that you guys have. And, we try to do it, with the expectations of, if we have a case that gets solved too quick, it's not going to be on the air. And we had several of those. Kathy Kelly and I had a couple of those where it was like, well, we're done. Wait, we know who the suspect is. Yeah, we're not going to film that, though. It's too quick. And we're like, well, shit, wait a minute.
Hey, that's a winner. Come on.
Yeah, that's a win. I actually had a case that is mixed in with the Devil Inside, the Apollo Ortega case. That was John Doerr's case, one of my partners here in Tucson. He lives in Texas now. But we had a female who was, it was a sexual thing, and her family did not want anything on camera. We didn't know at that time it was a murder. We thought it was an OD. And when we go through this, we're looking at it. My partner, Kathy Kelly, goes, I think it's a soft smother. What do you think? And I went, unless we have somebody confess to it, you know how easy those are. Doesn't happen that often. So
wait a second. What's that? What was that term? Soft sputter?
Soft smother, where they put something over her head.
I got you. Yeah, I got you.
And Apollo Ortega, when he confessed to the Devil Inside case, the Ortega case, underneath the bridge is 666 because he was with the devil. He actually said that they said, did you have any other murders? And he goes, well, yeah, there was one, the girl that I was with, and I smothered her when we were having sex. And it's like, Mike Carroll runs out and he goes, Billy's talking about your case on the air, or, on the video. And I ran in there and I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh crap, that's our murder.
Yeah. He
did do that. And we're looking at the point, she had a high cocaine intoxication, and we thought it was going to be an OD. Unfortunately. We had some things we could look at as far as them being sexually active together, but that doesn't mean he murdered her.
Sure.
But he admitted it to them, and it's like, oh my God, we just got a murder conviction on this guy. And he pled to both murders and was nice enough to get murdered in prison about 3 months later.
Wow.
After he was convicted.
Well, and that's unfortunate too, because don't you think that he may be involved in yet another one in the downtown area?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You have something that had something to do with some rebar?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
How do you know about that?
Well, I'm a detective, buddy. I detect. You know that.
I'm telling you. I just talked about that in a suspicious death class recently.
Really?
In Texas. Yeah, in Texas, and also, where was my last one at? Peoria, Illinois.
Well, so then you do speak also. So that's good. And we'll get to that in a minute because I noticed that you got something on your shirt there. Is that the Arizona homicide?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the Arizona. Tell me what the association name is one more time.
It's the Arizona Homicide Investigators Association.
Okay.
Out of Arizona.
All right. And did you say you founded that?
No. Jesus was founded back in 81. I was one of the I was, a board member, secretary, vice president, past president. But no, I didn't found it. I just, I was happy to be involved with them, and they still go to this day. So that's a good thing. But they bring great training in Arizona and bring good speakers in there. And
what's the red shirt? You were gonna tell me what that was.
Red. Remember everyone deployed.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So this is I'm with the Homicide Investigators of Texas, and Bill, what makes that remarkable is I'm kind of part of their committee, which we get speakers, and then we'll talk about that because maybe we just need to have you come to the great state of Texas. But
sure.
the fact that I'm an Okie and I'm a part of that organization says a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Probably in the first time in the history of a Texas organization. You know what I mean? But they're awesome. So you get there, you're working the first 48, and you said that they were great and stuff. So just kind of explain to the people. And of course, I'm aware of it, but explain to the people what that is like when all of a sudden you now have a camera person embedded with you as you go out there for the first time.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, they're at the office with us. They eat lunch with us. They eat dinner with us. They stick around after hours for us. If we have a call out, they're responding from their hotel. I've had them out here for dinner before. The wife's met them. My kids have all met them. Great group of folks, and we've actually responded from this house to a murder scene. Matter of fact, Ryan Robbins, again, great guy who was a field producer. He and I jumped out of an airplane together for my birthday. Yeah, he was actually doing it for First 48. It was going to be an episode of what they do when they're not working their cases. And he came out there. We went to Eloy and jumped out of a plane together with my sons, 3 of my sons. And we did that, and we got down and we landed and everything was safe. And he goes, you know what, Bill, I got the camera all the way up on the plane. We're sitting there filming. We get you guys going out the window. And he said, I put down my camera, then I jumped. He says, what do you think about doing this all over again? We'll put you in a suit, and we'll have Kevin calling you on the phone, Kevin Hall, our supervisor at the time. And you could go to a call out. And I went, I don't think people are going to buy that. But it never aired. It was one of those things that had people that were jet skiing and, doing skiing in the mountains and things like that. But it never aired, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But just a great group of people.
They're fantastic. So so all of a sudden you're used to working homicides and rolling to scenes, just you and another detective probably, or sometimes you're by yourself in that car. And so what was that first moments like, or what was it like for you to have a camera guy all of a sudden going, stop, wait until we get through this red light before you speak?
Yeah. And it was drop call. It was my first case I had. And there was one where the kid left a cell phone at the murder scene. And we're out there, and you're sitting there and you're looking at this stuff, and all of a sudden the lights come on. You're like, holy crap, what are you guys doing? They're like, well, take it easy. Let's go over that again. I need you to tell me what you're looking at and what you're seeing. And it's like, holy cow. We're out on the south side. We just had a homicide out here. It's not the greatest area in the world. You're backlighting me with all this light.
Yeah.
But it was good. I mean, we you always go through those type of learning processes and growing curves, but it was good. The funny part about it, we're going down there to talk to some schmucks down in that area to see if they're involved in this thing. And as we're driving down South Tucson area, he's got the camera on me again, and he's filming me, and I'm sitting there trying to drive and talk to him, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get shot. Yeah. Because I know you get a lot of bangers out here and things like that. Somebody's going to drive past and go, as we're driving through. Oh yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah. But no, it was great. The biggest thing I think I could take out of that whole thing was you don't change your gloves enough. Talking over the scene, you're not covered on your face coverings as far as PPE and things like that. And, your booties, are you changing those out? Who are you talking to? Are you recording all this stuff? And again, with First 48, with the people that don't know, they have to go out there and get clearances from all these people and get, signed waivers that they'll talk on camera. And a lot of people were like, I'm not talking on camera. But then you'd have other people going, well, on camera? Shoot, yeah. Where do I need to sign this thing? And they're telling their life story. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. We want to know if you know this person. I don't know him, but let me tell you about this other time. It's like, no, we don't need all that.
Yeah. We've literally had, I can remember a time or two where we had people flagging us down and then we they were just so crazy over it. We would pull over and literally, hey, I'm a singer. I want you to, stuff like that. Crazy stuff like that. But so what was your impression about the community by and large in your area there in Tucson? What was their reaction to you guys being on television at that point? And then, these episodes start coming out, they're recognizing you at some point on these scenes.
Right. Yeah.
Was it good or bad or what was that like for you?
It was favorable. I mean, we'd see people at lunch and they're like, hey, weren't you on that show? Things like that. The biggest thing about Tucson, and with Kathy Kelly, Mike Carroll, Jennifer Whitfield, everybody we worked with on these cases, we said, we want to be professional on this. And we don't want to have 5 episodes where it's like, well, he was taken into custody, but he was released later on because they couldn't hold him on anything. It's like, no. We want to make sure we show this in a positive light. And, the chiefs and things like that, they'll look at it and go, ooh. We had cops out here for years, and they wouldn't come out to any of our hot scenes. And we're like, we get a burglary in progress. We got this guy at gunpoint underneath that a pizza oven, and he won't come out. And we get the dogs coming in, but they don't want to film that. They want to film a bear in the tree. It's like, wait a minute. We've got actual activity here, not this kind of stuff. But we wanted to make sure it was a positive thing where people look at it and go, okay, these cops are doing the right thing. They care about these people, whether it be a drug dealer, whether it be mom and pop at their house, grandfather at his house, things like that. They're trying to do the right thing, and they're trying to bring this out in a positive light. That's what we try to do. Last fair, that was Jennifer's case, the taxi cab murder. I did the scene on that one along with Tom Stewart and some of the other folks. And, we just wanted to show that we're a caring department. We want to make sure that we do the right thing for these folks. And that's how we try to if you say produce it, I guess that's a term for us. But and with First 48, they were great on that. They're like, yeah, you know what? Let's go back on this. Let's recap this, and we'll talk about that. Tell us your feelings about this. My kiddo that was gunplay, where he was shot at the church. He was a high school student. They wanted to get me on there where I talked to the family and talked to some of the people who were doing car washes for him. And, I went in there and talked about that and the fact that, the community's coming together. We're having, a lot of response for this, and we applaud that. We want to see that. And that's what we had. A lot of people came out for those type of things. And, would they like to be on camera and waving and stuff? Sure. But they wanted to be there for the young man that got murdered, and it was good. Mm-hmm. And we always had a positive response from the people. I'd see people at lunch. I'd see people. I was at a HIA in Vegas, and I had a lady go on the elevator and start talking to my wife and I got off the elevator, and she's like, was he on the First 48 before? My wife laughed. She goes, yeah, actually it was. That's my husband. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, we love that show. We saw him before. So it was kind of funny. And this is years after our show.
I mean, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's we're amazing. On there from 08 to 09, for like a year and a half. And these people still remember these shows, and they still show them on A&E and Mystery Channel and some of those things. And it's funny.
Yeah. But, no, you're right. You're right. There's one of the episodes that that he's talking about. I'll tell you what, it's 99.99% positive. And I only give a 0.1 because I've had a stalker or two, believe it or not. But aside from that, but we've been on there for 11 years almost. Bill.
Yeah, you guys have been on there for a long time.
Long time. And so and that's one of the things, and I watch it too, because I learned stuff from other cities. As a matter of fact, I really enjoyed New Orleans, and I really am kind of a Mobile fan, actually. I really loved Mobile because Mobile was a city that it's all about the teamwork. And when you work in a squad of 6 people, there's no choice but to be a team. And if that's and that's one of the reasons that I brought you on here too, is because as far as I was concerned, the thing that I liked about Tucson for me personally, number one, you guys weren't on there long enough. And I am curious as to why you guys ended up leaving. What was the decision for you guys to leave, or for them to leave Tucson?
John had the last case, and that was Devil Inside. That's the Apollo Ortega case I was talking about. And I think they were just looking at branching out. They were looking at doing other things. We were kind of down on our count for that year. I think we only had like 60 murders that year, which is not, low, but I mean, they had heard about Birmingham. They wanted to go back to Birmingham. I think Memphis was on the scope, and so was Tulsa. I know that for a fact, in Dallas. So, and again, with these folks, talking to Ryan and all those guys, I mean, they'd be on First 48 today. Next week, they might be in the Sudan with Discovery or Sweet 16 on MTV, and things like that. So they were all over the place. Yeah. And they even talked to my son about, get your college degree out of the way. You could come out here and field produce with us. You could do this stuff because we'd pick you up. Because Alex was a photographer and he loved that kind of stuff. And he's like, geez, do you think I could do that? I said, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Yeah, he's a dad. He's a husband and a dad, and he's busy doing things in his own life. But I just think back and think, gee whiz, Alex, you could have done a lot of stuff if you wanted to, because they wanted to welcome on board right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm trying to get people to understand a little bit about what the dynamic is for us when we're on that. We've got cameras and we're going into certain areas of the city and stuff that the people in the communities that we deal with most often, they know who the camera people are because they've already, now they're starting to see it on TV. They get the fact that they're the First 48. I know that in Tulsa, our community, very respectful. They weren't like being out of line. They would, if they didn't want to be filmed, hey man, please don't put me on camera, etc.
Right.
And the camera people, consummate professionals. So it's not like they're sticking boom mics in people in the crowd. They don't do that with the show. So they're very, very respectful, which is something I appreciate. Yep. But what I'm thinking is, when you would go to some of these communities and they would see you, the individuals still might hate the police, but it's like we get a pass. Did you get somewhat of the same kind of treatment in some of these areas where the community would really, it's like they knew you, number one. Number two, they saw how well you cared about your cases. And did that pay dividends for you on other cases?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said before, if we were there on a, drug dealer that got murdered, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're a drug dealer or a mom and pop shop that got shot and killed. They're there and we're there trying to make sure we solve this case. And I think that reflected a lot on the public, where they're like, okay, it's not just because it's a bad guy doing bad things and he got killed because of it. They're still trying to solve this case. And I think that came out in a positive light. For First 48, I mean, on my drop call case, we're out there trying to arrest a guy out of the trailer, and they have guns drawn on them by Tucson PD going, what are you doing? Why are you guys out here with vests? What's going on? It's like, whoa, hold on. They're with us. It's First 48. But they weren't in on a briefing earlier, and they were kind of, awestruck with, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? You got people filming you guys. You're trying to bring this guy out on gunpoint. Talk with us. So we did. I mean, we had to have a little, that was the first case again. So we had to have a little conversation about, okay, this is what's going to go on. They have their own vests. They've got their cameras. They've already signed off on waivers. If they get shot, that's going to be on them, unfortunately, but they understand what the risks are behind this, and they're still willing to go out there and do that. I wouldn't do that. Give me a camera? No. To capture this type of thing, they come out there and it's the people's worst day. We're out there doing a death notification. It's the worst thing for the families, and they're hearing this, and the people with First 48, they were very compassionate and they were very empathetic about it, and would talk to them and go, "We understand. If you don't want to sign a waiver, you don't have to. We're just here to say, we're here with the department. We're trying to, show a positive light on your son's death, on your daughter's death." And right. The people would go, "Huh, okay, let me sign it. I'll sign the waiver."
Yeah,
and it wouldn't always happen, but
not only that, but it gives them an opportunity to really showcase their loved one's life, and it's not as opposed to just somebody being gunned down and in some sort of a situation where automatically the public is going to assume that they were up to no good, but they can shed some light on the fact that they were actually a family person and so forth, and that it happens. So I think do you think that Tucson would ever be interested in having them back?
I think so. It'd be up to the chief. Chad is the chief now over there. And I know they had to have some questions answered. They had another group come in. I can't remember who they were called or what the show was, but they had them come in there and they tried to do that. And I think it didn't work out right for them, which, maybe it wouldn't. But First 48, I would say that if they come back and approach them, maybe they would. Yeah. And I see in the chat, somebody talked about an officer involved shooting. Who gets the investigation on that? And I think you could answer this as well as I can. If you're on the bubble, if it's your number, if you're up, it's yours.
Yeah. I think more specifically, they were actually asking too that what if an officer was killed? Are you guys going to? I mean, that must be tough for you to work one of your fellow officers. But it is just exactly what you just said, Bill.
Yeah,
we have to work those cases. We're gonna a city our size and your size, we're gonna work them, and that's just the way it goes. And it's not easy. You want to be there for the family. Eric Height's case, he was the last officer murdered in Tucson. Thank God. But he was a first sergeant, just like I was in the military. And I talked to him about testing for detective weeks before this happened. And, First 48 was there, but they didn't want to film this because they said, we don't do officer murders. They do now. I know they've done some of those things now. But back then they didn't want to do it. And they said, we feel for the family. We feel for the community. We want to have respect for them and not show this. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. But it was. I was up on the bubble, and Kathy Keller was my partner, and it was our case, and we worked it all the way through. We got a 99-year conviction for the person that's in the state mental hospital for that. Now, I won't mention his name because I don't care to, but that's one of the cases that I had, and it's never easy. But again, if you're up on the bubble, if you're up on that number, and it's your case, it's your case. We don't choose the cases. I'd love to say we do, or I'd love to say we could. Yeah, me too.
We don't. If it's your number, you're up.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
Yeah, there's plenty I would like to choose. Gangster, I think I'll pass. I'll wait for the next one. Let's see what comes down. But like quadruple, you could get a quadruple homicide, and you're up. And that's what it's going to be. Matter of fact, I'm up right now. So I'm actually up for the next murder. and I literally figured, and I know. The wheel of misfortune is going to be spun, and I just don't know what's coming. But,
I know. Somebody asked about a murder thing as far as the sex thing gone wrong. It wasn't a sex thing at all. They were having sex, but he murdered her during sex and smothered her to death. Just like he would take somebody in a hospital and smother them, like you see in the soap operas, where they smother somebody with a pillow. Same thing. Yeah. And that's how they died. But the only thing was that murder was tough to prove. And if he had admitted it, maybe we wouldn't have proven that at all. It probably would have been an OD on cocaine.
What was it like for you to watch yourself working murders on TV? It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that your family and relatives from across the country, they're like going on a virtual, it's like a virtual ride along for you, right?
Yeah, I've got family back in Chicago going, geez, when did you do that? And what was the case all about? It's like, did you watch the episode? It could have explained all that. Right. But no, we had viewing parties where the First 48 would come in. They'd buy beer and brats and wings and everything else, and it was kind of fun for something like that. I've actually got a statue up there. It's a Academy Award statue, and I was given that by Ryan Robbins, and it was my first case, and it says, "Hey, at least I didn't say freeze, asshole." And that was the little character he gave me.
All right, so you're bringing up stuff that if there's anybody from the first 48 that is watching this or is going to watch this, you need to up your game, because the viewing parties sound really cool. You're not doing that. So, but anyway,
they were great.
They are great. They are great. And that's the one thing that I want to ask you finally, and we'll get off this subject of the first 48. Although this is your show, Bill. Bill, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So if there's anything that you've never been asked before and you're like, man, I wish they would ask me about this, man, feel free. But well, the one thing I want to mention too is that, with the first 48 and so forth, it's just I cannot believe, and I don't know if you go all over because you speak other places, and I'm sure people have come up to you and go, hey, what's that like? I personally cannot believe that there's not cities fighting for the chance to showcase their department on a show like that. Sure. And it's a difficult thing for the first 48. They're constantly, back then when you're talking about that, where they said, oh yeah, they're just going to leave you guys when you're not even ready for them to leave. And they're looking at Birmingham and these other cities. Well, it's not like that anymore. It's really not like that anymore. And so I find it hard to believe that they're just not having cities knock the door down for them.
Yeah. Well, I think the mayors, the city managers, if they have a high crime rate, they don't necessarily want to have that publicized. I mean, that's one of the options you could look at. With us, we wanted to make sure we did it in a professional standard. Right. And I think that's what we try to do. You guys have had them there for years, which is great for Tulsa, because it shows you guys are working your butts off out there and you're solving these cases, which is great. But you're always going to have crime. I'd love to say we'd have world peace and we never have crime again in our lifetime, but that shit isn't going to happen. You know that as well as I do.
No, of course. Yeah, you're right. Somebody asked how many murders are there in Tulsa every month. Well, I can't tell you for every month. I mean, every month is different. You never know what's going to happen. Sure. And there was a year back in 2013 where we had 14 murders in the first 14 days of January, and it was insanity. But I will tell you this: that since 2016 in Tulsa, we've had 606 homicides, and we have solved them all with the exception of 29. And so, thank you, Bill. We haven't had an open case, knock on wood, since mid-year of 2023. So good
for you.
Yeah, we had 100% clearance last year, which we're really proud of. And
good for you. That's outstanding.
And we're 16. Well, a lot of it's technology. There's three things.
Oh yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work. The advances in technology and our relationship with the community. Because if you're not getting along with the community and you don't have the ability to talk to people, you're not going to solve cases. Right.
Yeah, the real-time crime centers, things like that, they've more than paid for themselves. I know that, with a lot of the people we talk to, we go out there and talk to CIs and try to get them to open up a little bit. And, man, that was back in the old days of go out and knock on some frickin' doors, and try to find out what you can find out and do zero tolerance and tell these people we're not going away until we get this bad guy or bad girl. And we'd stay in the neighborhoods and the gangs are like, geez, give this guy up. Let's be done with this. We don't want him around here. And they do that from time to time. But a lot of times it comes down to good old detective work, the gumshoe thing. Go out there and start knocking on some doors, and don't sit there and wait at your desk for the answer to come in or the crime lab to answer the, who the suspect is. You got to go out there and do the job. And that's what I try to teach with these classes I teach.
Yeah, that's a Bosch line. Get out, get out. Yeah, that's right. And so you're absolutely right. You got to get out and knock on doors, and you got to talk to people. Otherwise, and if you're relying upon forensic science to solve your case, you're going to have a very short career in homicide. It's just not going to work. So
they do great work. However, they need to have. I tell you, I don't know how many times in the crime lab I go down there and visit with them and say, "This is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking for. You want the 10 best things for touch DNA." What am I looking at? They're the experts. Let's talk about it. And we'd sit there and discuss things instead of just sending the form letter out going, oh, I need these things checked. Well, that doesn't do shit for you. I mean, they have to know what you're looking at, who are your players, who are you looking at as far as a possible investigative lead in this, and what can we do? And they work with us hand in hand, and it was a great working experience with them doing that type of thing.
Yeah, and furthermore, we just got an MVAC too. I just bought it from your buddy that you just did a podcast with.
Oh yeah, I did.
We haven't been able to get it online yet, but we have it in our lab, and it's going to happen. So if you're a killer and you're watching this, because we can't control that, you could be a killer trying to educate yourself right now. If you're a killer, you have one. Did you guys have one down in Tucson? Did you guys have an MVAC or?
We did not. I know that I tried to get him down here for a showing for that, and they went, well, yeah, we're trying to look at the different things we have as far as forensics, and that's not one of the things on the horizon. They're trying to, the money they have, they have so much, when they try to do different things, and DNA is $100 a pop or more, and rapid DNA, those type of things work well if you have somebody in the system. If they're not in CODIS, you're not going to find them.
You're right.
But they're trying to work with what they can down here and do the best job necessary. In the MVAC, I tell you what, for them to come through here and do do God's work and try to come up with an end result on that, I'm all for it. If you could tell me who handled us rock and who hit him on the head, and that's who that DNA is going to come back to, outstanding.
Yeah, explain to the audience what an MVAC is.
Well, an MVAC is something that draws DNA samples off of different items, whether it be clothing, whether it be rocks, whether it be the concrete slab somebody used, and they're able to take DNA from that, and they're able to put that in the system and try to come up with a good number where they're able to come through and find out what matches up with the different alleles.
Yeah.
You probably answered back.
Well, it's just for the listeners. It's kind of like and he's explaining it very well, but it's like it shoots a solution into these porous material, and it's like a wet vac is what it is. And it's very simple. Yes. It's an expensive machine, but it's a very simple concept, and it just sucks that fluid up and it goes through a filter, and then they test the filter, and they've been probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 25% to 30% more successful in getting DNA off of than the traditional swabbing method that we've used forever. So this is the machine. This is the machine, or at least part of the process. This is a really huge deal where this is how cases from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s are getting solved. That's what's up. So if you're a killer, like I said, if you're in Tulsa, you better look out, buddy. Yeah, we're gonna solve some of them. I mean, not all of them, but we'll solve a few. That's for sure because of that technology. So I'm really excited about that. So tell me, no, go ahead.
I just want to answer a question real quick. Stephanie asked, "Was there a homicide that bothers you still to this day?"
Good.
All the cold cases that I put in the cold case room absolutely bother me every day and keep me awake at night. I like to say they don't, but in my brother's case, that's still unsolved. That bothers me to this day as far as what happened and what the end result might be.
Well, the MVAC. That's an MVAC. That's probably that's like a miniature MVAC. That might be like a handheld mobile. The one I'm talking about is bigger than that. You actually wheel it in. It's not huge, but it's something you could take to a scene or whatever. But you got the right idea. That's kind of it in a nutshell. So thanks, Amanda. Yes. I'll tell you what. You're right. The unsolved cases. Was there a case that really stands out to you that's just like that you kind of sleep, like, not to get too personal, but that you kind of on occasion it just still bothers you to this day as far as just the horrific nature of it?
Probably the Isabel Celis case. That's the one I just testified in last year. They got the bad guy and have him in custody, and he's already been found guilty. And she was with me in my house, and the wife felt this too. We've had people here that were sensitive and said, "She's here, isn't she?" And I went, "Yeah." I was a co-lead in that back in 2012, and when I retired in 2016, I went out with a psychic and we tried to find where her body was at, and we couldn't find her. And a while after that, we were able to actually, I didn't, but the FBI came up with some information, and they were able to find her body. And it was closure for a lot of the people involved in this. And I hate to say the word closure. That's bullshit. I can't stand that term. To be able to have an end result is what I call it. And after that happened, I didn't sense her in the house at all.
No,
it was like, okay, you got him. I'm good. Thank you. And she left.
Wow. That's fascinating, because I kind of had a, not exactly like that, but I would sit here and I couldn't get her out of my mind kind of a situation. It's like I kept thinking about this case, and it was a no body case as well. And we still haven't found her. She got murdered in New Mexico, but the killer got convicted, so which is good. But
good,
yeah, which are really rare. Those are super rare kind of cases. But
I had I had nobody case from here that was found in New Mexico, so kind of the same thing. And I just SAHIA is the Southeastern Homicide Investigators Association. I just taught that at their conference 2 years ago in Alabama.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about next. That is interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Bill's life now, because this is kind of like a where are they now kind of deal. And did you know any detectives from other cities from the first 48, or have you came across anybody else? I know we've been on LinkedIn together for several years.
Yeah, through LinkedIn a lot. Through LinkedIn a lot. Through Facebook, not so much, but LinkedIn, a lot of people from past experiences and past things would come up and pop up. And I talked to them about some of the cases. I've also got WilliamHansonConsulting.com that I've done for years. I really don't do that often, but people would reach out to that. I actually got the Dead Files. Steve DeShavi reached out, and I did a show with him. And we were able to talk about some of the cases we've had in the past. And he was a New York homicide guy, and man, he had a bunch that we've talked about. He was never on First 48, but he was certainly more than willing to talk about some of his cases, as I was. But with LinkedIn, you reach out to a lot of different people and get connected. When I go teach these classes with NCJCC and APC, a lot of people come out and say, we saw it in the First 48. What was that like? And you're able to explain some of the things to them about change out your gloves, change out your PPE, your booties you're wearing, things like that.
Right.
But it's something you don't realize until they film you, and it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, we didn't do this, or we were laughing about this. It had nothing to do with the body or anything else, but it's something they caught us on. It's like, oh God, I don't want people thinking we're laughing over the body. It's nothing in context of that, but it's still
you'll hear about it
there.
And you'll hear about it. Believe it or not, there's viewers from various places that they'll notice that your seatbelt isn't on. They'll notice that you take a peek at your phone while you're driving down the street. They'll notice trust me. I had a guy from Canada that wanted to complain on me because he thought I was rude, that stuff like that. So it's just part of it. But I love that, because it does. And that you should be proud, because your department definitely came across as being very, very professional. And that's what I love to see on there for sure. Yeah, you did a lot of, no, go ahead.
I had a Texas sheriff that reached out and said, it was on the First 48 website, where he said, well, I can appreciate the fact they're doing good work and doing well, but you don't solve all your cases. These are only solved cases. They're something they're going to produce and show, and it doesn't always happen that way. And Sheriff, wherever you're at, absolutely agree with you. Again, if it wasn't wrapped up, they wouldn't film it. If it wasn't done in a certain amount of time, if you had a suspect in 10 minutes, we're done. So I agree with the sheriff. I mean, it wasn't always, the First 48. Some of these things went on for months and months and months. The Apollo Ortega case, I didn't know about him being involved in that murder for months. And I thought, well, we're going to have to sign this off as an OD. But with what he said, we got a murder on him, and he pled guilty to it. So, but go ahead. You were saying something, and I interrupted.
it doesn't matter. I'm old. I don't remember. But I'll tell you what. Now, so you do a lot of teaching, just like I do. I do a motherload of teaching myself, and you've had the luxury, and I have as well, to teach across the country. And in doing so, what are you teaching? And are you with this private company? Are you just getting? Or do you have case profiles that you're talking about? Because I get asked a lot. Hey, do you know anybody? And I'm definitely going to throw your name out, Bill. You know.
Oh, sure. Yeah, NCJTC, which is the National Criminal Justice Training Center. I've taught with them since 2015. Before I retired, I've taught unexplained child death. I've taught death investigation. I've taught crime scene, and I've also taught suspicious death, which I still do to this day. With APC, with Mike Shentrup and his group out of Florida, the Advanced Police Concepts, I teach a homicide seminar that I've taught. It's a 2-day seminar that I've taught. And we just go in there and we talk about everything homicide, whether it be the medical examiner, the coroner, what they're looking at, what they're looking for, what we've done in our cases. But I've always done it from the angle of this is how our cases got screwed up. This is how we had a problem. This is not how we're tapping ourselves on the back going, oh, what a great job you guys did. No. Yeah. This is the screw-ups we've had. This is some of the problems we've had falling through the cracks. And this is how we overcame them, or they ended up in the cold case room.
Brilliant. No, that's excellent, because those are the cases that we learn best on, you know? Sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're going to put people to sleep on the other ones. But in reality, you're right. So how did you get started? Or how did you get the eye of that organization, the national one, to start teaching when you were still in the business?
Yeah, I actually reached out to PATC. Well, I won't say what the name is. And I had said to the boss back in the day, you know, you've got some great homicide guys in there, but it's a little bit old. Mm-hmm. You know, I attended a PATC class back in the 90s, and I attended one back in the 2000s, and they're the same class. Yeah. And I said, is there anything we could do to freshen this up a little bit? Now, don't get me wrong. They do some great classes. They put out some great information out there. But when I did that, he says, no, I don't think we're interested in that. I said, not a problem. Karen Ashby, who was with the NCJTC, she was a tribal detective back in the day. She said, have you thought about teaching with them? And I went, well, no, I mean, I want to teach part-time. I don't want to do any full-time gigs. I don't want to go back on a department someplace being a supervisor or a commander or something like that. I'd rather just teach. And she said, well, what do you think about NCJTC? So I reached out and talked to Jim Walters. He was a great guy there. He was in charge of Amber Alert. And when I talked to Jim, he said, we're going to get you on board. And I met with Brad, the boss for NCJTC, and I gave him my spiel on it, and he went, I think we could actually put you in a death investigation, which I did. And I did that for years with a bunch of other great instructors. And I was on the ground floor for Death Investigation Academy, which I was part of when it came on. And we started that. But then later on, I went into suspicious death. I teach with the doc out of Tucson here. And Dave Winston, he's a medical examiner. And we teach the suspicious death from the angle of, this is a detective's point of view. This is a medical examiner's point of view. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit dry in the mouth here. And, you know, we teach it with the understanding of these are some of the problems you're going to face. And you need to be ready for it. And with a lot of folks we teach with, it's great. We've got a pretty interested crowd. But when you ask them, how many people have been case detectives in a homicide case? You may have one or two hands reach up, and it's like, out of 63?
Are you serious?
Cow. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't think you get a lot of. I don't think you get a lot of people that show up from Tucson Police Department or Phoenix. Right. You know, most of the time, I think at most of these conferences and stuff, you're getting more of a smaller. Although in Texas, I mean, they do have guys from Harris County and Houston and Austin. But, you know, believe it or not, Austin doesn't get a ton of murders. I mean, it's right. The number of murders that you were getting in Tucson and we're getting, that's more than they have in Denver. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure. So, or Fort Worth by far, places like that. So that's awesome. And so you've been teaching. I'm sure you have the ability to have case presentations that may be in the neighborhood of 4 hours, right?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Well, that's good to know because you might be taking a visit to San Antonio along the Riverwalk, Bill. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's an exciting destination.
That was basic training, baby. I've been to San Antonio.
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. So we might have to just have you there so we can have a drink together and
absolutely
and have a good time there. So you're still teaching to this day. You're still doing this thing. And what was it? You said something about a consulting deal. What's that website if somebody wanted to get in touch with you?
WilliamHansonConsulting.com. WilliamHansonConsulting.com. It's all one word. www, and of course, WilliamHansonConsulting.com. So that's one of my websites. But a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn, and it's William Bill in quotes Hanson, Hanson. And a lot of people reach out to me there. By all means, reach out to me. I've got a class coming up in Sandy, Utah. I've got a class coming up in South Carolina. I've got a class coming up in Napa, California. So I've got a lot of classes popping up. Reach out to me. Let me know. And, if you want to go to the class and learn some things, I think it's funny because one of the classes I've taught before, I talked to a kid and I talked about not cutting corners. You've got to do the basic standardization on a homicide case, whether it be an OD, whether it be, a suicide. You've got to do a homicide investigation to make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
Yeah.
And I said, don't cut corners. And he said, okay, Hanson, at the break, he comes up, he goes, Hanson, let me ask you. It's the chief, the under chief, and myself. And that's it. How do I not cut corners? And I said, well, I understand where you're coming from. If you got a death investigation, whether it be a child or an adult or a vulnerable adult or something like that, you're behind the eight ball before you even get started. Ask for some help. Talk to your city, talk to your county, talk to your AG's office, talk to the feds. Try to get some help on that case because you need it. Talk to an adjoining agency about trying to help you with these things. Right. Don't go in there going, well, my God, I've got to interview 5 people and I have to do the crime scene and I have to do the autopsy and I have to do all this stuff. Talk to them and try to get some help because they're there to offer it. Reach out.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. What is your and if you got to run, let me know. But what is your advice to the younger officer of today, or what's the biggest? This is kind of a compound question. This is a compound question. So, number one, what are you seeing about the officer of today that you would like to change from the old school officer? Kind of a deal. That's a good start. What would you say to that?
If you're just starting out, do the best job you can. Hopefully you have the support of your department, your mayor and council, your city council, your county board of supervisors, or whoever it is, and you're able to go out there and do the job. We'd be out there and we've had somebody say, how long are you guys going to be? Because, geez, we got to get this road open up. I know it was an officer-involved shooting, but we need to get this road open up. We've got the cars need to leave out of here. And we're like, no, we can't hurry this along. This is something that's going to be the officer's career, or the person who was shot and killed, or the person who was shot and injured. It's going to be their, case study too. We need to go through this to make sure we're doing it the right way. You can't hurry these cases up.
Right.
For anybody that's out there, do a ride along with your homicide unit. Do a ride along with your gang unit, whoever it may be, your CID folks. Try to go out there and see if this might be what you want to do down the road. Like Jason and I have talked about, we knew in an early age we want to be cops. I knew later on I want to be a homicide detective. But go out there and do ride-alongs with them. See if you could talk to their supervisor about, listen, I'm interested in this. What do I need to do? The people that are out there, the civilians, go to a civilian academy with your departments and learn what we're doing out there. Learn that the press is going to skew this stuff and slant it the way they do, unfortunately. If you have a good press department behind you, great. But go out there and do a citizens academy, do a ride along with your departments, go out there and do a CID ride along with your homicide unit and see if that's what you want to do, because we have to have the best people in that job. If you're not doing the great job, you're not doing the best job you can, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah. That's great advice. That's great advice. Now he's referring to, just so I don't get inundated with messages about, hey, I want to do a ride along with the homicide unit.
Right.
Let me put it this way. Bill will agree with me. A ride along with the homicide unit is a lot of sitting at a desk typing. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not going to happen.
It's not TV.
No. So, but I will say this, you're bringing up a great point. For the younger officer that's out there that, you know, they're like, hey, listen, I want to be a homicide detective one day. Well, then let them know that you're interested. Ask them what you can do to better prepare yourself for this position. I had Freddie Ponce on from Miami, and you may remember Freddie. Freddie, I need to introduce you to Freddie. He teaches all over the country too. He teaches. He's got a PhD. I mean, he went on and got his PhD. I'm not quite that motivated to get a PhD, but he's got a PhD. And Freddie's super smart. But Freddie's like, listen, I went up there, and this is Freddie, and I got to say this because this is something you just do not see. Freddie would go up there to the homicide unit and just hang out, and he would go, tell me about this and tell me about that. And then after he'd spend an hour with them talking to him about interviews, I love this. Freddie goes, hey, I need you to sign and date that. And he would write down his training. He was putting together a training manual, and he was having the homicide guys like check him off that he spent 1 hour with him. So when he applied for the unit, he had a book of all the times that he had spent with the homicide guys. And I just don't see that. I don't see that from homicide or people that are wanting to come to our unit. As a matter of fact, you would think that people would come and go, hey, I'm thinking about coming there. Can you tell me about the job? And you don't even see that. You just all of a sudden hear somebody's applied. And I think that that's crazy. So I think that brings up a great point that, you know, look into it. And the other thing is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to reiterate what Bill just said. Most of you that are in here are civilians, you're citizens that watch this. If you're in any kind of a moderate sized city or even smaller cities to some extent, they have a citizens police academy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's free. Okay. It's like 10 to 13 weeks or 15 weeks. Go. You will love it. You will have an appreciation. It's eye-opening. Yeah. If even for those that are kind of iffy about the cops, we welcome you. Come on, and you can go to this. And like I said, you will walk out of there with a new appreciation as to how we do our jobs. And you may actually want to do it after going through it. And you'll and I don't know about you, Bill, but I know for me, man, I do the death part, and I show the real deal. I mean, I don't make it to where they're going to need counseling, but I do show them real cases. And
I do too. My whole training is all case based, where I talk to them about the cases we had and how we had difficulty with them and how we overcame them or we didn't. But let me tell you, for the new people out there, talk to the people with the gray hair. Right. Become a sponge.
Or the people with no hair, you know. So either one, you'd be good. But so that's great advice. So and then finally, what is it? I mean, what would you do if you could change any? Are you telling about? You're talking about that. Are you noticing a difference between the cops of today from back in the day?
Yeah, a lot of them are gun shy. Unfortunately, they don't have the support they need to. They've got more rules and procedures and general orders that pop up on them, and you know they're just trying to do the job, for Christ's sake. And you know they keep getting kind of downtrodden with their job. And, you know, just like Gebarth said, Vernon Gebarth, we work for God. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what this job is. You're out there doing the best job you can for that victim, for the family, and you're trying to make sure that you get some type of end result for them. I won't say the other word, an end result. That's the same thing Jason does, the same thing I did back in the day. And you have to have the support, command staff, chiefs, sheriffs, whoever it may be. Yeah. You have to have that support.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you and then the other thing I wanted to ask you too is, do you just speak to law enforcement audiences or on occasion, other than citizens police academies that you've spoke to, is there ever any times where you've been brought in to speak to the public, or is there any public events that sometimes you get hired to come in and speak, keynote speaking, things along that nature? Okay. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you to do that, where do they find you other than LinkedIn? And do you have a website?
Yeah, www.williamhanson consulting, all one word, .com. That's it. It's right there on the bottom. But let me know. I've talked to groups in high schools, colleges, different homicide investigating associations and things like that. But I don't have a problem talking to civilians and talking to them about the problems we're facing, and the fact that defunding the police, at least that's gotten away from some of the problems we've had. I know that Dave Smith and Betsy Smith, good buddies of mine, that work with Police One and MPA, they talk about the fact that you need to be out there, you need to be training, and for the folks that are out there that want to do this stuff, that want to teach, you know what? I've got a shelf life. I don't have too much more time left where I'm going to say I can hang up the spurs just like Jason will down the road. Mm-hmm. You know what? Go out and become a general instructor. Go teach in your academy. Go teach at these different places, because we need you out there to be able to step up for us and continue to do this. Yeah,
I agree, Sally. He is a great guest. I'm glad he's here. And he's now, I've considered him, he's been a LinkedIn friend for a long time. Now that I've actually met him face to face, he's my friend from here on out. I appreciate you, Bill. I really do. I appreciate that. You're one of those people that I'm telling you, man, that you're kind of like a sensei to me. All of these older homicide guys that I bring on here, don't think that I wouldn't bend their ear if I ever had something that it was just stumping me, that I wouldn't call these guys to ask them a question. And I know darn well they would be there in a heartbeat. And that's what I love about this.
I'll come out to Tulsa. I'll have one of these and we'll have a cigar.
I'll go, or vice versa. I'll go to, if I'm ever through Tucson, believe me, I'll give you a ring.
Absolutely. Just let me know.
Yeah. Me, you, and Jason Schechterly from Phoenix.
Jason. Love Jason.
He was on here, and we'll talk murder, because Jason's the bomb too. I love him.
Oh yeah.
So
he's not a sugar coater.
No, and he speaks all over the place too. I'm definitely going to keep you. I'm going to be throwing your name out there, and I'm definitely going to mention your name to the Texas Association, and likewise, if you hear anybody looking for a speaker the other way, I speak as well. So you never know.
Absolutely.
I might have something that you might have something, or know of somebody looking for somebody that wants to get dazzled by Jason White, and sometimes I can do that. So anyway,
I'll do that.
All right. Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, thanks a lot, Bill. You've been awesome. This has been episode number 48 of Into the Fire. 48 episodes with, in my opinion, exceptional guests. I mean, really, they're the reason why I have people like Bill on here. I could call all kinds of homicide detectives, but first of all, I've got to like them. That's the thing. I've got to be impressed with them, and those are the people that I'm bringing on here. And it's not just people like Bill; it's other people of other disciplines. In the very near future, we're going to have somebody on here that's a forensic genealogist. We're also going to have, it's going to be great. We're going to have Gary Nosner, the lead negotiator from Waco. He's going to be joining us in the very near future. And we're going to have just epic people on here. And that's why I do this. I do this because if I just called Bill and said, hey man, tell me about your life and what you're all about, he's going to think, what's this weird guy calling me for? But at least I have this show that makes it where it's normal. So it's all good. Have
you had Jen Spears on the show yet? She's out of Florida.
No.
Oh man, she is good. She does cold case, and she's awesome. A DNA expert.
Okay. Well, listen, if there's anybody else that I need to know about, definitely let me know who they are. And I would love to have some great people on here. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I got to tell you, this show is not a show without you. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Please, if you've checking this out on Rumble, Spotify, Apple, or any of those, subscribe. Go to my YouTube page, Detective Jason White. Like and subscribe. Go to my Detective Jason White YouTube page. And I want you to subscribe because I want more viewers. I mean, I want people to watch this. The more viewers I get, the bigger to the person that comes on here. There are some guests that don't want to come on a show that doesn't have a lot of viewers. They want a lot of viewers, and that opens it up for bigger and better guests, I promise you. We're going to be also, just to let you know, there's going to be some merchandise that's going to be coming out in the near future, and be looking for that. And this is what I told him. I said, I want it to be good stuff. I don't want it to be garbage. I want it to be really good, and I want it to be super cool. And I've seen some pictures of that. So just letting you know up front. Believe me, I'm telling you, man. If I was there with you, we'd be having a drink. Trust me.
I know.
I'm gonna have a drink for you when I get off of here. But no, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you, I appreciate it. Check me out on Twitter, Instagram. Do you have Twitter or Instagram? That you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Instagram, yes.
Okay, what's the handle on that? Maybe you can get a bunch of followers on that if you don't have any issues with that. I don't know.
I think it's Bill Hanson 50.
Okay, there you go. I'm gonna get on there and I'm gonna follow him because I don't know if I follow him on that or not. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We will see you next week. I'm trying to think as to who my guest is next week. I can't remember, but off the top of my head, I don't remember. But we're gonna have a guest next week. I've got guests all the way till the end of June. And then when I'm off for my little summer break, I've even got a couple of people that we're going to be taping a couple. And man, I've got some, you have no idea who's coming on. It's going to be great. It's going to be people just like Bill. Thank you, Bill. You were freaking awesome, man. I really enjoyed it. Sorry for me being a little bit off kilter and stressing.
Not at all. Not at all. No, you're fine. You're fine. Hey, we know what the homicide investigator's life is like.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, listen,
God bless out there.
Don't click off, Bill. I'm going to talk to you off the air real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. I appreciate it. Thank you, Amanda. You don't get enough thanks, and you're behind the curtain. And thank you. She put up there that I'm great, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And so was Bill. This isn't a show without Bill. Okay, Bill's show number 48. How appropriate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Sign us out, Amanda.